I was a school teacher, kids weren't paying attention. I just took my fingernails and did it across. I call the Thursday, February 23rd Historic Preservation Commission to order. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Schmidt,
Here.
Commissioner Lucas,
Here.
Commissioner Olson, Commissioner Derrick,
Here.
Commissioner Hendrickson,
Here.
Commissioner Barvian,
Here.
Commissioner Rapp, Commissioner Hagan,
Here.
Chairman Bortle.
Here. All rise for the pledge.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'm seeking a motion for the approval of the agenda for our special meeting tonight.
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda.
I'll second it.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
I'm seeking a motion to approve the minutes from our January 12th, 2017 Historic Preservation meeting.
I wasn't there.
I'd like to make that motion to approve the minutes for our previous meeting.
Okay, is there a second?
I'll second.
Are there any changes, additions, deletions?
I wasn't there.
No, I didn't see anything in it.
She wasn't there.
Nothing jumps up immediately.
Okay, so all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay, chair's comments, several. I need some input from the commissioners. First, March the 9th, Anthony Rubano from Illinois Historic Preservation Agency will be here. It's a Thursday night. It's the second Thursday. It's our normal meeting. We are having Anthony come in and discuss how he goes about evaluating a building such as the Opera House or the Zimmerman building, which is now Remax's building, or Mr. Barvian's building that's coming up this evening, on how he evaluates them for possible tax credits put forth by the IHPA and the National Park Service. So he's going to give a presentation, a training as such for that evening. We have invited all the property owners downtown if they choose to come. We have invited Joliet Historic Preservation Commission. We have invited Will County Historic Preservation Commission. And I believe there are going to be some commissioners here from Oswego and from Kendall County. So we're going to meet in Community Room A for that presentation. However, I also, when I talked to Anthony, I said, since we are kind of responsible, we got it going and you helped at the Opera House I thought maybe we would have dinner that night with the commissioners if they so choose to have dinner at the Opera House at 4:30. The Opera House is willing to open early for us and have dinner so we can be done and back here by 6:30, 6:45. If there aren't too many people that are willing to do that, then we can go somewhere else. But I just thought it might be an interesting evening to take Anthony over to see the finished product, and some of you if you haven't been there yet. So I have heard from Commissioner Schmidt. Is there anyone else that thinks that they would be willing and coming to that meeting there at the Opera House? Derek?
Real quickly, Mike, what for identification, for information, let the folks know who Anthony Rubano is, what his title is and who he works for.
I did. He's from the Illinois Historic Preservation Agency.
And what's his title?
He's the preservation person in charge of evaluating buildings for the National Park Service and the Illinois Historic Preservation Agency. So, Commissioner Hagan, are you interested?
Yes.
Okay. I think Commissioner Hendrickson's thinking he's going to be out of town.
Doesn't look like it, but I'll let you know.
Okay. Okay. Commissioner Lucas?
Well, that's a tentative. The schedule always dictates, but
So if I come and kidnap you, they have no idea where you are. Okay, I will check with the others. So it looks like now we'll have our recording secretary create a special meeting at the Opera House so that we don't get into trouble with the Open Meetings Act. Second, Joliet, Will County, and Plainfield have sent an application in to Springfield to host a camp. And we are going to tentatively, if we get the grant, hold the camp at the Masonic Block Building. We don't know when yet, but sometime in April or May on a Saturday. And I received an email from Amy Hathaway at IHPA that the entire cost will be paid for by Springfield.
What's a camp, Mike?
I don't remember what it stands for. CAMP is something for preservation people to go to and understand how preservation works, how people in the field can help, like our audience, understand what preservation does and how it works. Commissioner Hagan and Hendrickson and myself have been to the camp, and I believe Commissioner Schmidt went to the camp in Lockport.
It's a networking thing, and it's really, really a good deal. And I'm trying to get Mike to bring the information up. These groups get together, and we do have a program. We make some presentations, introduce ourselves, and we kind of talk about the things we've done and the things we failed at. And it's a really fun learning experience.
There are a group of people that do this all across the country. It's the Commission Assistance and Mentoring Program. It comes from a group of people from Georgia. And commissioners can join if they wish on their own. I believe Mr. Hendrickson and myself are members of the organization. There's a monthly magazine that comes out from them. So we have put in for that. Joliet is planning on bringing their entire commission plus their 2 staff people, and Will County and also us. And if there's any vacancies left, Kendall County and Oswego have also said that they would be interested in sending people to this. The other thing that we're planning on doing is having lunch at the Opera House in the private dining room between the afternoon and morning session. So I will, once I hear the date from Springfield, I will call them in Georgia, get the date, couple dates, and then I will call all of you and see what date works for you. The chances of getting one Saturday for 30 commissioners agreeing is low, but we'll try. So that's all of my comments, other than if you've taken a look at the RE/MAX property, they did come in and sign the letter of agreement, and I don't know that they've come in for the sign yet, but I know they've come in for everything but that.
If I may add?
Sure.
If it's, just briefly, I know the scallop siding material, the fish scale, has been removed consistent with the approved COA. I am in discussion about revisiting the shutters. There should some shutters there that were a little bit of a departure from the elevations that have been shown. There might be a slight discrepancy in the size, the match of the shutter with the fenestration or the window opening. So if the commissioners have any additional comments for me, feel free to call or email as they're working towards an occupancy permit. So this is a good opportunity to address any additional issues with the project.
Supposedly they're working with Tom Bowen at Plainfield Signs, and they were kind of surprised to learn that the village had anything to say about their signage in the front yard because they were running it by Anthony, but Anthony said most villages have a sign ordinance, and so you will need to run it by me and also through the village. So they are not considering a lighthouse with a revolving light, as you all heard them once think about. So I think the sign will be appropriate, and staff will let us know, and if we need to, we can pass judgment on it. But as far as the letter of agreement, they signed it. The village board approved it before they signed it. The village board agreed with everything in it, and and it's looking pretty good. So that's all of my comments. Commissioners, do you have any comments? Hearing none. Is there anybody from the public would like to make any comments on anything that's not on the agenda? There's no rush to the podium, so, okay. To old business. Old business is case number 1729-070816.COA, a certificate of appropriateness for DNA Athletics for 23210 West Lockport Street. This is the property, the vacant lot east of the trolley barn. Staff?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I trust that the commission is familiar with the project here. The project has been before the Plan Commission and the Historic Preservation Commission previously, and obtained recommendations for approval for a two-story building. It would be primarily a retail running shoe store on the first floor. The second floor would have included a kind of a flex space as well for events, activities for the business and otherwise. The applicant received approval of the COA and site plan review from the village board, and proceeded to down the path of the building permit process. And as the plans developed further, there were two kind of separate but related challenges that have caused the applicant to revisit the project. One pertains to just the kind of the nature of financing a project of this nature, and with a significant investment in the basement that wasn't granted really any credit in terms of the loan to value or from a financing perspective. Construction costs were a challenge, and as well based on how a portion of the second floor use was identified, it triggered the requirement for an elevator, which was not a viable cost option for the applicant. So when you kind of put the two challenges together, they are now back to the drawing board and seeking reconsideration for a one-story revised plan that would accommodate essentially the same combination of uses. As the chairman touched on the site context, this is in the downtown historic district, directly east of the restored trolley barn, north of the Sovereign restaurant. To the east is currently a dental practice. In terms of the certificate of appropriateness in the one-story plan here, it's essentially the same building approach as the approved two-story structure. So similar materials in terms of the face brick, the stone cap and sills on the primary elevation. Secondary elevations would incorporate a composite siding material for the sides and the rear. And in this alternative for the one-story building, it does include a pitched roof to the rear of the parapet. So the front elevation has a parapet which kind of shields the roof. So this is a little bit of a deviation from what had been approved previously. Staff is seeking some discussion and direction on the part of the Historic Preservation Commission on whether you're comfortable with this. It's compatible with the previous design, which was approved. But staff has some, I would say, mixed feelings potentially on whether a different approach would be suitable. Just given that this is this is not between Des Street and Illinois Street, where you can find a handful of examples of this building approach currently, but as you head west from Des Street, and especially as you head west from Fox River Street, the older building forms tend to be more residential in nature, and or with the trolley barn directly next door, that would provide an opportunity potentially for more of a industrial feel, or a deviation from what I still refer to as the 500 block of Lockport Street in terms of architectural approach. So staff would foresee a handful of options. One is that there's consensus and comfort with the plan as proposed. There might be some minor suggestions that staff and or the commission would offer, or the commission could invite the applicant to consider a departure from this approach and something that would vary. Staff certainly recognizes that the applicant is, I think, anxious to get going with construction. They currently operate their business. They're looking to relocate and grow that business here. They already obtained approvals, and I think if they had their way, they would be well under construction. So by no means is staff looking to slow the process down, really just to have a thoughtful discussion about what's the best fit for the historic district. There are a handful of criteria that I feel are applicable. I've outlined those in the staff report with respect to building height, the proportions, relationship of building masses and spaces, the roof shape, a handful of applicable standards to serve as guideposts. In terms of the Plan Commission's review, the Plan Commission did look at this revised plan Tuesday of this week. They recommended approval, but were very clear that they didn't want their recommendation to undermine or deprive the Historic Preservation Commission of its full and thorough review. And in fact, when staff presented it, I identified that I felt the Historic Preservation Commission's consideration was really more detailed, that the certificate of appropriateness criteria are more rigorous than just the general site plan review standards. So the Plan Commission wanted the HPC to feel fully entitled and not to feel that by the Plan Commission's recommendation they were depriving the HPC of any latitude to make wholesale recommendations on the proposed plan. So having said that, staff is comfortable with the plan as presented. We feel it complies with the site plan review ordinance. There may be opportunities either on a small scale refinement and or some more significant recommendations that are perhaps cost neutral, that would not add significant cost to the project, but would help fit at this specific location. So with that, I will conclude the staff report and would be welcome to any questions.
The west 3/4 elevation is mostly hidden by the trolley barn, but I was wondering if the section closest to the front of the building, there's no windows on that side at all. Would the commissioners think that maybe there should be a window, maybe closer to the south elevation, just to kind of break up. I realize there's not going to be much sunshine coming in the western part of the 3/4 of the building, since it's going to be, there's not much opening between the two buildings, but the area, the 1/4 of the southwest corner there, maybe a building, a window there, and the same on the other side, maybe, just to kind of break up that whole east and west side. I mean,
Yes, I can pull that up as we discuss, and just for information, I know the representative of the applicant is here as well, who, you know, at the appropriate time, Mr. Chairman, may be able to speak to the interior building usage and how that might relate to the fenestration opportunities. But I'll pull the site plan up here.
Also, would you be able to pull up the original, the 2-story version? Do you have that as well? Was the original 2-story version, was the roof flat on top?
That's correct. It was, I think the footprint of the building was small enough that it allowed for the cross slope front
had
to
a low
back.
slope, but it had a parapet around it.
And then the facade, though, it was straight, right? On the top? So I'm just curious how you came up with the newer. Yeah,
Sure.
Yeah.
please. Yeah.
Well, first off, with regards to the site plan on the west wall there, the reason there are no windows as it was originally is on the interior. That's their design or their display wall,
Okay.
and it's also less than 10 feet from the trolley barn property because of the nature of that. So our setback here, if we're less than 10 feet, you need a 1-hour wall. And we are less than 10 feet there. We maintain it through, we could do that on the east side of the building without getting crazy. I mean, we could put a window in there, but it's all gotta be fire rated and all that.
So what you're saying is that there are two purposes. You need the firewall protection for the neighbor, and also I realize that the interior space in a retail setting is super important. It's form follows function.
Right, so as with regards to that wall, the owners, my clients had talked about maybe putting some windows here, doing something on that wall, which we could possibly accommodate, although he's kind of contradicting himself, because he also wanted some display on this side, again, as the retail. To answer the second question, our original building was approximately,
If you want the.
the original building is 1.5 to 2 times in length now. The original building was approximately this long. Now with it being this long, to do a single slope on there, as we did on the first drawing, as the first plan, it becomes a little more cumbersome because you've doubled your length.
Yeah.
We could theoretically pitch it from here to here and do a low pitch roof to the center and do some roof drains out. What we're trying to do is just work with the budget, based on the appraisal values that they're seeing, and construction costs. It's gonna be tight to make this thing work based on the appraised value, which amazes me that the appraised values are coming in where they're at. Especially in this case, they had a finished basement, which is where their internet sales / stock room is, and that's their moneymaker, and there's no recognition for that when it comes to the appraisal, which is just kind of ironic. But at any rate, that's the reason for the new configuration. Again, we tried to play with the front elevation, or maintain the front elevation, incorporate it into a 1-story massing scale, and then working with the again, with the budget, trying to, keep it within budget, the 412 pitch roof with the shingle on it, a nice architectural 30-year shingle on it, is going to be the most cost effective. It also helps us with the truss in the roof structure there. So, that's kind of the progression that we've had.
Well, I was also asking about kind of the front facade. It went from the cornice just being flat, straight
Correct.
at the top, and now it has this sort of articulated
A gable end to it,
a
correct.
gable and kind of a pediment feel to it.
Right.
So
So
I was
he-
just curious how you went from that to this.
Sure. Again, we again working with what we had originally here, and then incorporating our gable roof into it. If you can go back to that other picture, Jonathan, other drawing. You know, that gable masonry end just helps to hide this. You know, there's our roof line there, and again, this pronounced center section with the gable end on it is a nice feature for signage as well, which we really didn't have before. But again, for the most part, it's the same building. You know, the second floor windows would have probably started about at this elevation, you know, so we've just included that pediment there.
So you've increased the footprint, eliminated the second floor. In the process, you didn't have enough room to get a decent slope to the back and have a flat roof going to the back.
Correct.
So okay.
And in addition to that, you know, a shingle roof is more cost effective than a flat roof, and you're getting into other, you know, construction issues there as well from an insulation standpoint.
Easier to
and
maintain.
venting and, yep, exactly.
I have a quick question. Kudos on the cloth awnings. I think that's great. You'd mentioned the windows, and the wording is aluminum storefront system with low E insulating glass. It says clear. And I don't mind the aluminum storefront if the color is such that it looks like it. You know, not looking for something that'll jump out. It should be more authentic period colors. But I would really like to make sure that you're telling me that this glass is clear glass. You're not going to be the reflective windows.
No, that would not be like mirror reflective.
I don't want to see any reflectivity at all in these windows. It really in our we've been very, very fortunate that our downtown made it through the 50s and 60s with minimum modifications, and it's the owners, the current owners, I think, are doing a very understanding and significant job of keeping that feel, and that would, I think, would be very offensive to the building. As far as what I see there, it fits in, and it's a cross between, you know, it's not, as Jonathan mentioned, we've got some residential right nearby that's been converted to commercial, and we've got a very, very industrial building to your west. And I think it's a good fit. The facade is what you're looking for. The windows on the side, that would be perhaps, but when you talk about fire rating, then as far as I'm concerned, and also I understand about the need for retail. So I guess my only concern right now, really and truly, is those windows. And I want to have those windows appear as if they were original materials.
Understood. Now, the only thing, based on the energy code, which I'd have to double check on, we may look at having a tinted glass, but not in any way mirrored or just slightly darker, just from a solar heat gain standpoint. But that's something I could follow up with.
I wouldn't find that offensive. The reflectivity is what
there would be no reflectivity. It would be a clear, a tinted glass for.
You couldn't tell if it was dark inside or tinted glass. That's perfectly acceptable.
Yep.
Don't you agree? I'm making a
the low E glass from the outside. I have low E glass on my windows at home, and when you introduce the argon between the thermopanes, it tends to darken as you're looking in,
right,
which isn't a problem. And when you're looking out, you can't tell.
Correct.
But as far as being and it does reflect the UV, but it doesn't make the windows super reflective to the eye. So it's fine, I think.
Okay.
I think the low E, you might want to consider, and this is just for you to check, you might want to consider high performance low E sunglass like they use in the south, because your building's going to be on the north side.
Right.
And you have quite a bit of glass where you may get considerable heat gain in the summer. So it might be worth looking into high performance sunglass.
As long as it's not reflective, Michael.
And it isn't,
Okay.
from what I've seen.
Okay.
Just to save you some money on your cooling costs.
Sure.
And it'll help on your winter heat costs too, because it'll absorb a lot of that heat into the building, so your heating costs will be lower.
Right. Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Does this have any impact on the parking arrangement you had with,
We have eliminated all parking in the rear just because we ran out of space, which I think we're fine from a zoning standpoint. Really what we had just left back there, I mean, this will be grass and landscape, but basically keeping our trash enclosure back there accessible off of the trolley barn parking lot. And the trolley barn parking lot has their trash enclosure right here, so we're literally just 90-degree rotated from them. And the client had talked with Paul, who I believe is the owner of the trolley barn, and Paul had contacted Jonathan, just wanting an update on this, and long story short, today they had contacted him, and he's fine with that. He just wanted to have a better understanding of what's going on back there. But yeah, we did eliminate the parking, so we've lost the, we traded the impervious area of the parking for additional impervious area of the building from an engineering standpoint.
so there's no driveway then?
Correct. There never was a driveway.
No, I know initially there was, wasn't there?
No, not with our plan. We had discussed it at some
You mean the
point,
original property?
kind of coming in off the dental office side, but the only access we had, let me clarify, there was no driveway off of Lockport. The only drive access was off of the trolley barn parking lot.
I thought there was initially I thought there was a driveway on the side.
They initially talked about it,
Yeah.
but the tenant to the owner of the property to the east did not
Okay.
want to
Cooperate.
cooperate.
Right.
So that's out anyway, so.
Yeah.
Okay.
The face brick, what's the color?
I think we sent that in. It's similar to what we had. It'd be a reddish brown hue, something in context with, the other buildings downtown.
And dimensions, do we also have that information?
It would just be a standard running bond, an 8-inch by
4-ish.
8-inch by 2 2/3 inch, standard. So nothing out of the ordinary there.
And mortar joints, traditional.
Yep, traditional mortar joints, and then we'd have precast cut stone, pilaster bases, base in between, and then at the head of our, well, you can't actually see it because of the, I take that back. I'm sorry, this band right here, the precast stone band here that separates the head of the windows, and then at the, at the coping, we'd have more stone, so.
The siding that you have proposed is LP Smart Lap, and
Right, it
that
would
is
either
a very
be-
narrow product.
Yeah, from our last go, I believe it was LP that we went with to get the 4-inch exposure. Right. Yep.
Okay, so you can preserve a 4-inch exposure, but the depth of it doesn't read like a traditional clapper because it's such a thin product, right?
It's a little thicker than the Hardy product, but yeah, I mean, it's not gonna be 3/4 of an inch in thickness, so it's gonna have a less of a shadow line to it. But to get that 4-inch exposure, that's what we're looking at.
Because I believe that's what we talked about in the
Right,
previous
the
building.
review. The windows the doors on the east side, are those glass?
Those would match
Are
the
they-
aluminum storefront on these originally were slid further to the south, and they were aluminum storefront to match what we have going on the front of the house, or front of the building, right here, which it's either gonna be a dark bronze or a black, to kind of be within period, and then the transoms and these doors on the side would be the same. Then the windows on the back would just be a residential grade aluminum clad to match in color the rest of the aluminum.
Not bad.
The wall plane on the front,
Mm-hmm.
the center bay, does that protrude at all from the windows?
Slightly, if we could go back to that. Yeah, the elevation. Sorry, John.
It looks like it's recessed in the plan.
Well, the doorway this is recessed, this 45's back, as is typical. The door swing can't encroach on the public way, so the entry is always recessed. And then this part, these pilasters here that flank The sides are just projecting out 4 inches from this plane. So you're 4 inches out, 4 inches out, you're set back for in here, and then this whole thing sets back out that 4 inches again. So there is that fenestration, and then this is deeper. If you go back to that site plan, Jonathan. So here is I mean, if you can kind of see it if you look close enough, but there is just a 4-inch inset there where your window line is. You bump out at the pilaster, then that's the entire face. And again, our recessed area for our entry. And again, so you got 4 pilasters, 2 windows, and 1 entry. And again, that door is off-centered because of ADA requirements and door clearance and approach.
Oh, so we can't have it centered?
Correct.
Gotta be able to have room next to the deal.
Yeah, you need the 18 inches on the pull side.
Anybody else? Any other commissioners?
So the windows, the aluminum frame, is it set into the wall so we get that extra dimension? Like, because historically the buildings sort of had a lot of playing with the planes. You had the windows inset into the wall plane.
Yes, so you will have, so from the face of this pilaster, you go back 4 inches, and then from the face of this brick here, you will go back almost 4 inches, call it 3 inches to the face of your aluminum, and then your aluminum to your glass is another roughly 2 inches. So yeah, you
Just to
will
get that
have shades and
dimension.
shadows playing off of each other on that. And then your sill here is going to project out 1 inch from the rest of this. You know, these have chamfered edges on them, so these project out 3/4 of an inch to 1 inch, as will this. You know, so yeah, we will try to incorporate those details. Well, not try to. We will incorporate those details with the fenestration and banding.
Okay, so I think my last thing was just to sort of echo, I think, what Commissioner Schmidt was saying with the pediment. I can't think of, well, we do have some other examples downtown. But this building form kind of makes me think more of, Grubin's, that, Mojo's building, where it's, even if you just, I understand you're trying to hide that gable peak, the ridge behind the facade parapet, but maybe you could flatten out, instead of having the,
You're just saying
parapet
bring
just
this
go
up
straight
and run it
across.
straight across.
that would be my suggestion.
I don't think it's a mandatory thing, but it'd be a suggestion.
Yeah, I mean, if you prefer it, fine, but it's just a suggestion of, instead of peeking there, just bring it across, it would still hide the roof,
Right.
the roof line behind it.
Yep.
Because it would be high enough.
Okay.
But
Yeah,
that's up
I mean, I think we could go either way with that. I was just working with it and trying to enhance the
Right.
height there, for signage and just kind of make it a feature.
Yeah, our job is not to redesign it. And then the plan commission, they're looking at, the structure and how it fits into the neighborhood as far as the mechanics of the site itself. But we're trying to tie this into, the rest of our village downtown.
Correct.
And like I said, that's be a suggestion. And I would certainly not make it mandatory, but the lighting sconces, we're not looking to approve them, but I would like to have your feeling that these things are all going to be period appropriate. I'm not looking for a can hanging out there on a block
Right.
facing down. There should be something that may have appeared. Of course, when some of these buildings that we had downtown were
They'd
put
have
in
to
place,
be
they
gas-
didn't
gas
have
torched or something,
right,
right?
But that it should fit that feel, and
Right.
we're not looking to copy, but to have something that blends together. I think that
Period
you've
proper, right.
right.
Okay.
Thank you.
Because there's, your building is one of the very few
This is our first info.
west of, basically west of Fox River, where would be an infill. The only other things that could happen is the 2 houses that are east of you, somebody could down the road decide they want to take them down and start over. Like you had an empty lot, but your building is works with everything else downtown. And I think it's a great looking downtown, and I'm glad that we extended our district down this way, so we have some input into how new structures or existing structures can be fixed or built. The one across the street that was a house that is now becoming commercial, it has taken on a new look. So I think it looks fine. So any other comments from any of the commissioners? So I'm seeking a motion on the recommendation of the approval of the COA. Is someone like to make that motion? You can look on the third page of the staff report.
I move we recommend approval of the requested certificate of appropriateness for the proposed new one-story building at 24210 West Lockport Street.
Is there a second?
I'll second that motion.
Okay, roll call vote, please.
Commissioner Lucas,
Aye.
Commissioner Schmidt,
Yes.
Commissioner Hagan,
Yes.
Commissioner Barvian,
Yes.
Commissioner Hendrickson,
Yes.
Commissioner Derrick,
Yes.
Chairman Bortle.
Yes. Thank you.
And, Mr. Chairman, if I may add, and I apologize as I get more into the routine of things here, as we move forward to the village board, I can look to modify our existing COA document. I think we've identified materials. Mr. Mitchell's provided some cut sheets and stuff for some of the products and specifications, so we can work up that actual COA document. Would
And take notes from our statistician here.
So I will work with the commission on finalizing that
On the
agreement.
letter of agreement
as we
for
go
them.
forward to the village board, if that.
And just for your reason, the letter of agreement, it's everything we discussed. It's basically what you've come up with, what we've mentioned. It's just so that the building department and staff and us have, yeah, because we got burned a couple times
Oh, and that's-
without them, and so now we've decided, it's just standard operating procedure.
And we're not trying to redesign. That's why we say suggestions and a thought. Either way you want to go, but we that way this is going to say, we suggest, but I want you to know that is a suggestion. If the
But
owner
we do have a role in evaluating whether or not a new design fits in with our existing historic buildings. So if we found there was not any sort of prior pediment elements in the district and we felt it was an ill fit, we can recommend that they go with a flat center on the facade there. But
Be happy to run that by the client. I mean, they obviously want to make this high-end. They like the location. They understand the historic value of it. So I will touch base with them tomorrow and
But if it's a problem at all, that this is, we really don't want to put ourselves in a position of redesigning your work, because it really is perfectly appropriate. It's just that we're thinking about some of the other buildings, and we don't want to, we want to not copy, but we want to have it fit in. Okay, thank you.
Moving on to new business. This is case number 1754-0209117. Certificate of appropriateness for Plainfield Castle LLC for 24044 West Lockport Street. Michael Kelly for Plainfield Castle. Staff?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Staff is excited to have two more facade projects on the agenda here this evening, this case and the next, for certificate of appropriateness review by the Historic Preservation Commission, and then as it moves forward to the village board, would also include a request for a facade grant. It's also staff's understanding that the applicant intends to work with the IHPA to make use of and benefit from the Federal Rehabilitation Tax Credit Program, which is available thanks to the hard work of the commission in terms of obtaining the downtown landmark status, downtown historic district status, and National Register status. So staff is pleased to see that that hard work continues to pay off here for additional property owners. In terms of the site, subject parcel and the site context, I'm sure the commission is familiar. In the past, this has been used for financial services. The Main Street Plainfield office was located here for a time. It's located on the north side of Lockport Street, immediately west of bakery with a professional office above. And then to the west is currently retail. The existing structure was built in the 1890s, according to our ArcaSearch survey. It had been updated in the mid-1900s to include a limestone fascia and kind of a wood bulkhead that covered the original brick facade of the upper elevation. So the proposed scope of work includes removal of the limestone fascia. It would be a reintroduction of the detailed cornice above. Bear with me here just a sec. And replacement of the storefront and assembly with a more period appropriate wood and glass storefront paneling and entrance. So this would be very much consistent with other restorations that we've seen on the south side of Lockport Street and in the vicinity. So specific to the certificate of appropriateness consideration, there are a vast number of criteria. Staff feels that the proposed scope of work is entirely appropriate. I've highlighted just the most applicable of those criteria, but staff fully supports the restoration as proposed. There was some discussion and a question as to retaining the limestone fascia, whether that would be accommodated within the federal rehabilitation tax credit review. It's staff's understanding that the applicant has worked through that with IHPA, that the Part 1 consideration has been approved, and so to take it back to the 1890s will be supported by IHPA. However, staff will continue to monitor that review process to ensure that the scope of work that's approved by IHPA is consistent with the village's COA process, and or if any adjustments or modifications need to be made, that we would reconsider if there's a change in scope based on IHPA's pending review. So with that very brief overview, staff would submit that the proposed work is consistent with the various guidelines and criteria set forth in the Historic Preservation Ordinance for consideration of the Certificate of Appropriateness, and staff would be in position to request a favorable recommendation. That concludes the staff report.
With regards to this particular property, this property sits east of the Masonic Block Building, and a little bit of history for all of you. The fire downtown that destroyed this building destroyed all the buildings on the north side of the street from Desplain Street east to Mr. Barvian's building that we're going to discuss next. All those buildings were destroyed in a December 29th, 1891 fire, because all of those structures were wood, even though they had, many of them had exterior walls of stone. But what saved the last three buildings on the block were about a 18-inch barrier of open air space between the last building that burned and the third building from, at the time, Arnold Street, which is now Illinois Street. And if you've seen this building, it's not very wide. When I was doing my research, I was shocked by how small it was on the width. And this particular building was where the Worst family had their barber shop originally, was on this side of the street. And then they moved over to the other side of the street. They owned the lot for 9 years, from 1883 to 1892. And when it burned down, then they relocated and sold the lot. Then the building was probably built the same time they built the Masonic Block building, which was started in March of 1892 and was finished in November of 1892. They built buildings fast back then. The upper facade is completely obscured, and now it is no longer because they took off that wood slip cover. And for other information, the Plainfield Village Clerk's Office was located here in 1945. And then it was the home of Van Dyke and Bales in 1949 up until the mid-50s. So, Mr. Kelly, I will send this history to you. And I'm happy to see that Anthony finally saw the right way to go on this building, because I know originally he was not interested in going all the way back. I think I was able, along with someone else in town, to convince him that this would fit more appropriately with the original look of the other buildings downtown, back to that period of 1892. And I'm glad to see it's going back to that. So, kudos. Well, I understand, but he convinced the Park Service to go along with this, and so that was good. I know he's getting kind of tired of Plainfield probably a little bit, but he's done a great job on our part, because yours is the fourth building downtown that's going to take advantage of this tax credit, maybe another two eventually. So it helps everybody around. So would you like to make some comments, or it's up to you? Just briefly. Okay. Yeah, state your name.
My name's Mike Kelly.
And is everything you're going to say is the truth and the whole truth?
Much as I know it, yes.
Okay.
The whole truth. The interesting part you talked about, I was an insurance agent through my life, and a Kiwanis member, downtown Joliet. George Baldwin's insurance company bought out the Bales piece
Right.
in the 60s sometime, I believe, and or maybe early 70, I can't remember. And when he went in there, my understanding is the desk, he was still a clerk for the village, and the desk still had applications for some sort of fees with rubber bands ripped around, with the money still attached in the bottom drawer of Howard, I think it was Howard Bales'
It was.
desk. So that was, and George related that story to me because I knew him through Kiwanis and through Joliet. So it was very interesting, and we're very happy to be moving forward with this project and get this done and have it appropriate for the downtown area.
Is there any commissioners wish to ask the applicant any questions?
No question, but I know that we had talked about this proposal, similar reconstruction and restoration was proposed a while back, and that's when Anthony got involved and said, no, he wanted to save that stone slab. And he had his reasoning, but I think that the applicant can basically perhaps thank the commission because we did do some arguing against the retention of the stone slab. And Anthony's going to be here, and he's a pretty cool guy, and I think he has a lot to teach us. But the good thing is I think that we were able to teach him a thing or convince him a thing or two. And I really think this is going to be a little doll of a building, and it's going to fit right in. And the details, Michael Lambert has done a very, very nice job with details. And a lot of this is to restore brick and to redo things back, and that's really what we're looking for. And I do like the light fixtures. I think are very fitting, and otherwise it's a period building that we want to see. So I really don't have any questions, Michael.
Well, thank you. Thank you for all your help on that. I was not aware of that. I mean, I knew they changed their mind, but I didn't know the reasoning behind it. Yeah, it's really neat, and a lot of it, and my current occupants are very looking forward to the finished product as well. But going with the 1890s approach really opens with that larger window is going to open up the ceiling inside to the tin roof that is still in pristine condition. Underneath the ceiling is all the tin, and so that will be, painted and restored to its look, so it should be great.
So when Anthony was here, was that October? When Anthony was here in October, he came up to look at Gourmet Junction and went through it with the possibility of a new person buying it. And after we got through doing that, I kind of pigeonholed him, and I said, the building down the street here really would look better if we took it back to the way it looked when it was finished in 1892. And he convinced, he listened, and I think when Michael Lambert spoke to him also, he finally gave up and agreed. He thought taking it back to the original look will, really, we need to take pictures. Well, we have a good picture. We have a picture of Archisearches in 2005 of what it looked like. And you can see it on your on the Archisearch survey that you have with the packet. That was a wood slip cover up there that they took off.
Yeah,
But
we
we-
had a fun day to doing that.
Yeah.
We did that ourselves. It
Yeah.
was fun.
So I think it will blend in, but it will also stand out because of the
Detail.
great detail of the windows in the door, much like your neighbor to the west. When they redid their storefront. So
Is there any indication that this is what it looked like to begin with?
Yeah,
Yes.
that's
Oh,
my
really?
question too.
Oh, okay.
No, I mean,
Oh.
I have that question
Yeah.
also. Are there historic photos that
Yes.
this is based on?
Yes.
Yes.
there-
Okay.
there should be part of those, one right up there. I didn't bring the book. There's several books that have been published that has this building in it as part of the scape looking from across the street from the Masonic Lodge towards that, and it should be, everything that I understand, it should be very close to what it was in those early days.
And what are the two color schemes? What,
You're, I'm
based
sorry.
on the awnings or?
Yeah, there's gonna be an awning, that's in the plan, but I don't know the color schemes. It's,
So we don't have any color samples or anything like that?
other than the spec in the sheet, no. My feeling is that, I wanna answer that and be truthful, is grays, but, that's what my understanding is, but I didn't look that detail up.
Yeah, the drawing, I think, indicates a medium blue-gray.
Right. Well, there's
scheme.
two
Yeah.
different ones based on
Or a
an awning.
taupe.
Or
Yeah,
taupe, right.
two choices it looks like. Do you know which one you're leaning towards? Or is that's what you're saying you don't?
Grays, I believe.
The blue-gray, all right. The, it's cellular PVC, your trim work and your bulkhead and everything. Are they casting that to match the photos, or is it pre-made and it's stock that's being purchased that's close to your photos?
It's, my understanding that within the structure, the millwork is one of the big deals in this, so they're making the stuff,
Okay.
my understanding.
It looks great.
Thank you.
Yeah, so Jonathan, can you put that historic photo back up, please? Are we matching the mullions and everything in the window? It looked like the transom above the door maybe is divided.
Vertical divider.
It's
The
there.
photo looks like it, but that's, once again, I think, I'll reiterate again that it's a suggestion only, that it does appear that that original drawing shows the door, the transom above the door with a vertical divider. And if you chose to put that in, that'd be great. If you choose not to, we'll let you slide.
Divider, I'm not sure I understand.
If you flip back, okay, so especially on the right-hand photo, above the door,
see.
you
Right
see
there.
that? So that's a divided light. Since you're going to all this expense and you have access to historic photos, and you're going for a tax credit, I believe the Park Service will hold you to that standard. especially when you have the evidence. And we also are always setting precedent. This is in the district. We have photos. We need to do our best also to encourage property owners. And we are advisory, but we are trained and we can offer that advice as well researched and as professionally as possible.
And Michael, also, this would show your willingness to go the extra mile to make this as close to the original as possible, which when you do go for a tax credit would be appreciated. I mean, in other words, if we can play devil's advocate and find the spots before they do, I think it's going to be, yeah.
Helpful, absolutely.
I would just make a suggestion, though, that if we're gonna put in that vertical mullion, that it's centered in the new window, because it looks like they had it lined up with the jamb of the door, which wouldn't work on this. It would be too,
Yeah.
it
I was
would
looking
be
at that
too
too, I'm
uneven.
like, okay.
Yeah.
The picture that you're looking at is Hartong. That was 1895, so it was like 3 years after the building.
The glass on the right is probably, I think, bigger than, is that,
Yeah,
right?
looks like it, yes.
It lined up with the door jamb, whereas this door and the side light window, if you tried to do that, I don't think it would look right. Just center it.
Okay, so, and we have the ADA issue here again, right? That's why the
Yeah,
door is
right,
not centered and
right.
it's no longer double leaf. All right.
We
So,
have that problem that we have to, when we redo things like this, almost all the buildings downtown that have
and you
been
probably do want to leave it out because it will look
bizarre.
not good.
Or center it. I think it would look all
Or
right.
if you
Centered.
centered
Oh,
it.
you think?
It could be all right.
It's still, it's something to consider.
Absolutely.
And it's certainly not a,
Symbol.
yeah,
Certainly.
it's not going to appear in our letter of agreement as a, please do this.
Okay. Well, I appreciate the input. It's not a problem.
Leaf thinks it won't appear.
I'll hear from him if I have a problem.
Okay, anything else?
Yeah. This is an exciting project.
Yeah,
Thanks so much for doing it. It looks really great.
it does.
And it's probably becoming cost effective now, whereas I remember there was concerns about the leaving the limestone and redoing it that way. It wasn't really,
This project predates me, and I'm curious, why did he hold to the limestone?
because of when it was done.
Just, he picked that time period?
It was, that change was made to the building during the period of significance that we picked for the district because we went all the way to the 50-year cutoff. And so it is our fault. And we've
guess
learned
it-
our lesson.
It was our fault, but you know, at the time,
It seemed like a good idea.
At the time when we did it, the slip cover was there, and not much was known underneath of it. Pretty much like the trolley barn. The trolley barn was listed as non-contributing
Yeah.
because of its, not because of its age, but because of its appearance and the additions that had been put onto it.
Also, Michael, for your information, the other building that we're going to discuss tonight, that was approved as a significant change that could have been historic, the tile. And we convinced Anthony the same day that had to go also. So he was the primary suspect, and you were swept in with the movement.
I had a question. That portion below the large window, is that typically wood? Is that what we usually have
Well,
downtown, or is it like a press?
That's what a lot of the windows downtown, the bottom bulkhead is wood.
Is it not pressed metal? or-
No, a lot of it is wood, and with the columns and the lintel is cast iron. When we get to the next one, we're going to invite you downtown when the unveiling comes at Mr. Barvian's building, when they remove all that and you get to see it. It's there.
Okay.
This building, I suspect some of it's been removed when they did the limestone. Yeah.
But so your bulkhead is gone now, right? Yeah. So that's why, and that's something we should be clear on too. If it was still there and in poor condition, we should, under the Secretary of Interior standards, require the person to replace it in kind.
Replicate it.
Wood, okay? We're looking at a modern material instead of wood, and in my mind, everyone else can make their own decision. In my mind, that's okay because the material is missing. And to recast that or rework it in the PVC, because it's no longer there, to me, it's an acceptable alternative. But if the wood was still there, then I think I would have to fall on the other side. You need to use wood again, and you just replace the missing pieces.
And that's what they've done downtown in a lot of the restorations before it was a National Register district. The reason we're even doing this is because a lot of the buildings downtown were done before the commission was created and before downtown was a district. We just had a little bit of, I'll talk to the HPC, but we didn't have a local district, and now we have a National Register district, which is taking advantage for the new property owners downtown whose buildings are contributing, because now they can get the tax credit for interior and exterior work, which they couldn't before. Contrary to some of our people who were against doing the district downtown.
I'd like to make a motion if I could.
For
Is the timing appropriate for that?
this,
Yes.
right here.
Yeah, I'd like to make a
Go ahead.
motion. In the matter of case number 1754-020917, certificate of appropriateness for the Plainfield Castle LLC, I move we recommend approval of the certificate of appropriateness for the proposed restoration of the building at 24044 West Lockport Street.
I'll second that motion.
Questions? Roll call vote, please.
Commissioner Schmidt,
Yes.
Commissioner Derrick,
Did you say Derek? Oh, yes.
Commissioner Barvian,
Yes.
Commissioner Hagan,
Yes.
Commissioner Lucas,
Yes.
Commissioner Hendrickson,
Yes.
Chairman Bortle.
Yes, she does that occasionally just to see if you're paying attention. Because I know when Michelle does it during the board meetings, sometimes she doesn't take the same order the second time as she did the first time, and they go, oh, yes. So, okay. Moving on to the next new business. This is case number 1754-022017. Certificate of appropriateness for 24030 West Lockport Street, formerly known by all of you as the former Gourmet Junction building,
Krebs Pharmacy.
Krebs Pharmacy. Originally the Fraser and Smiley grocery store from 1877. And a little history for you guys. This two-story brick building survived the 1891 fire, and the upper floor windows have arched brick hood molds with stone keystones inscribed with an S and an F to indicate the original owners. Mr. Reynolds, James Smiley's second business partner, changed the F in the east keystone into an R after 1895. Once known as the J.C. Owens Drugstore, it is best known as Krebs Drugstore and Soda Fountain, operating in the 1940s to the 1960s. It was modernized in 1961 with blue and white tiles, and now houses Gourmet Junction, a restaurant and store since the 1980s. The original cornice has been removed and is now a plain parapet, and the upper floor windows have been partially filled with brick. However, the overall historic character remains. We will now need to change the description of this building as we are with the Kelly building. But there's the history. 1877. Okay. Staff?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And again, staff is equally excited to see this project move forward. This is another worthy project for both the facade grant program, which will be considered by the village board at the upcoming meeting, and as well participation in the federal historic preservation rehabilitation tax credit program. In terms of the scope of work, this is going to be a phased project. So a few differences from the previous case. And I'll discuss the phasing here in a moment. And as well, this project would also include some minor work on the alley side, the north side as well. So we'll touch on that briefly. The first phase of the project will really focus on the first floor elevation, removing the tile material and reintroducing both the, if I can browse to, no, I don't have it here. So removing the tile material, reintroducing a storefront similar to the previous case, and as well relocating or locating a door to the east. Bear with me just a sec. Well, actually, I'll try and describe it verbally. I apologize. In terms of the layout of the building, there will be two proposed uses for the first floor. It would include an ice cream parlor, I believe Hazel Mays ice cream on the first floor, and to the rear of the ice cream would be a professional office space. So in the front, there will be a primary entrance for the ice cream. There will be a new door located on the west side of the south elevation that would provide access via a hallway to the professional office at the rear of the first floor. And then also on the front elevation, the current access for the second floor would be retained. When the tile comes off, they would reintroduce some brick there. The first phase would also include incorporation of some windows to the alley facade, which is currently a block addition, kind of a mid-1950s, 1960s cinder block addition, which currently has no windows. So those windows would provide opportunities for some natural light in that professional office. And then the second phase would add to the second story removal of the infill material and appropriate restoration of the three windows, and I believe the cornice, removing the existing modified parapet and reintroducing a detailed cornice. I believe that is part of the second phase as well. So again, a very similar analysis to the previous case in terms of the work being appropriate and being consistent and compatible with the various guidelines and criteria that are set forth in the zoning code for certificate of appropriateness. And so staff would be seeking a favorable recommendation at this time. That concludes the staff report.
Thank you, Steph. On the packet that you received, there's a picture. You're looking from basically, you're standing in the middle of Lockport Street at the corner of Illinois and Lockport in the middle, looking to the northwest. The three buildings in the beginning of the picture they're still there. Those are the three buildings that are still there. Everything else, you can see the gap between the building under consideration. That's the third building from the right side of the picture. There was a considerable gap between that building and the next one. And then you have another picture that shows you after the fire. This was taken in January or February of 1892. And reason we know it wasn't in March was because the Masonic Block building was already being built in March of 1892. So this building was 1892 January or February. And if you look all the way down to the end of the picture is the one of the two buildings that George Rapp's great-great-grandfather built, which is now replaced by the Cork building, which is where Capri is. That building was torn down in 1911. So the two stone walls there that are being held up, one of those walls is one of the buildings that Commissioner Olson owns. And when the fire was so hot, it turned that stone to pink from the heat. And it's still visible in the basement and of the interior walls of her store. So those buildings remain. The building on the corner with the person staying there, that's 1869. The next one is Mr. Bates's building, and the next one is the building under consideration. So that's the building that we all took a tour of with Mr. Barbian and Mr. Rubano in October. And all of you who've lived in town know it as the Gourmet Junction with the bathroom tile on the front of the building, which will be removed and restored to the way it looked in 1877. Okay. Do the applicants wish to say anything? Okay. Who's going to?
Actually, I'd really like to open it up for questions. Many of you have been involved in this.
Okay.
It wasn't disclosed who the owner was going to be initially.
I understand.
Yeah.
So before we get into questions, raise your right hands. Is the testimony that you are about to present the truth and nothing but the truth?
It is, yes.
Okay, thank you. Commissioners?
Is this flat all the way across? Do we have a plan? Is there a plan? No. Is it flat all the way across the facade, the
It
the
is.
storefront?
It is, yeah.
Not currently, though,
Not
and not
currently.
historically.
Not yeah.
Correct.
Verify restores
Is there any chance for you to change your mind?
Was there a reason for that, or
There is two reasons for it. One is for the ADA code that we've talked about a couple times. And the other is in order to be able to get two entrances in the building. The building is almost too big for a retail space because of the add-on in the back. So it was decided that we would make retail and office in the back. In order to do that, you have to have two entrances. And because of the ADA compliance with that, you can't get it to work. As well as the columns, and it was mentioned before, the cast columns are in place. The demo has been done inside the building, where currently this is recessed back about 3.5 feet on a ramp. That door itself isn't ADA compliant anymore. And to try to configure it so that you could use that opening to go into both spaces, there isn't enough space to make it ADA compliant, and because it's on a ramp. So it couldn't be done any other way, unfortunately.
And the plan, the second phase of the plan, at least part of it's to, excuse me, remove the brick infill on the second floor windows, is that right?
Both the brick infill and put the cornice back on as well.
I think the two phases are well represented in the drawings, and in both sections, we're talking about, existing brick, existing steel, existing. And once again, the windows and doors, we're not calling out materials here. I'd like to have an idea.
Yeah, they actually, we did in the architectural drawings, and I'm not sure if Jonathan has those. It's all wood.
Okay, so this is going to be put back with,
This is to be put back, it's all custom wood,
okay.
yes.
'Cause I know the,
And it's low glass, low E glass as well. We believe this cast is here, though we haven't found it yet.
yeah, I read that on the specs that, to
We also
verify.
believe this is brick, though the state disagrees with us and does not believe it is brick, but we believe it is.
Okay,
You can actually see parts of brick over here on the side behind it. But again, we won't know for sure until we start.
but you'll make every effort to make it be homogeneous with the existing materials and
Yes.
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 Okay. Yeah, I see here it says verify and restore on that, the band across the top, verify its existence.
Well, the state's been proven wrong before, so we might as well prove them wrong again. They're not here anyway, so.
The transoms, are they true divided light then?
Yes.
Okay.
So when are you removing the exterior? You have any idea?
Yeah, once we get approvals, the contractor's ready tomorrow, but we're holding them back.
All right. It's too bad we can't get this done so we can show it to Anthony. Nah.
Well, part of it is part one, Anthony
Right.
has already approved.
Right.
And he's just waiting for the hard copies, and he's sending those off to the government.
Yep.
And part two, we are in the process of finalizing now.
Okay.
So in part one is the certification that the building is National Register eligible and therefore, and a commercial property and therefore eligible for the tax credits. Part two is the meat on the bones that the project is designed meets the standards and then can receive the tax credits.
That is correct.
Okay.
And we're working on the language of part two now and trying to finalize it.
Okay.
We've already been in discussions on it.
What did Anthony give you feedback on the reconfiguration of the first floor entrances and whatnot?
He was fine with it. He asked the same questions, and then once we went through it, he said that makes sense. And
Okay.
he did not have an issue with it. He did say that he may have an issue with the awning. He said, not that I disagree with the awning, it might have to be a different design.
Oh, so it doesn't bisect the transoms or something, or?
He wasn't clear.
Okay. So do we have a plan view to show how that first floor looks? So, because earlier tonight we were said that the doorways have to be set back so they don't, the door swing doesn't impede on the public way. So the rhythm or the dimension of this first floor elevation now is going to go from flat to in for a center entrance to now
Flat.
in, out, flat? Or I don't get how it's going to...
It's all flat.
It's all flat.
It's all flat. So your door swings are allowed to impede on the public way.
I mean, the architect has worked on this for months. So, I'm assuming, he already passed everything through the state as well. There was an issue. He had to take some things to the state, and the state already reviewed it and agreed.
Okay, so first floor is entirely flat now.
First floor is flat. That's correct.
Is the bottom of the I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
The
I'm
bottom
sorry.
of the stairs for your access to the second floor. Where do the stairs start? Once you go in the door, how much room do you have before the stairs start to go up?
Probably 2.5, 3 feet.
So there's no way to introduce the door to a hallway to the back right there. Like you'd go in and then you'd either go up the stairs or go in a door that would come on the interior of the building. Because then you could eliminate that door on the left.
Oh, you mean on the east side of the building, you could access the back of the building from the
You'd
stairs
probably
that are
have to
going up.
Flip your hallways, but
Oh, I see what you're saying. Okay.
Well, yeah, because what you're saying is, can this be the entrance for the retail shop as well as for the second floor?
or your office. I was actually thinking office at
Office.
first because west door right now leads to a hallway, right, that goes back to your space.
It can't be for the office because on the back side of this, and do you have the?
I don't have it electronically.
Okay. Because on the back side of this is where the retail counter is going to be, because your stair is going up here, right here, which means you would have to go this way and then jog all the way back.
So the retail counter will be
The
under
retail-
the stairs
That is correct.
because of
Yes,
its, right.
correct. Just to be able to utilize the space most efficiently.
Okay. And the alley that you guys have, you have a gangway, right, to the west that still exists today? No? Historically, you said there was a gangway that saved it in the fire? Right.
No. When the new buildings were built,
They went all the way wall
they
to
went,
wall.
basically, there's a space between this building and the building to the west of 6 or 7 inches maybe.
Okay.
Not like the picture. This is a picture of it before the fire.
Yeah, it's so funny you don't pay attention to these things like when you're out shopping.
So the 3 doors are to 3 separate spaces? Is that right?
That is correct, yes.
And then
So-
door on the right is,
Goes to the apartment on the second floor. And it's existing.
okay.
That's how you get to the second floor apartment now.
Okay.
And when we were up there, you could see that because the ceiling has been lowered in conformity with the infill of the brick on the second floor. So they're gonna remove the infill, and then they can take out
Raise the
that
ceiling.
false ceiling
Mm-hmm.
for the existing ceiling that's above it, the old ceiling that's there. And that's phase two.
Correct.
They have within 5 years to do that.
Do we have a historic photo, Jonathan, that might be so we could see how the rhythm matches?
There's,
But we don't have anything other than those two, right?
Oh, no.
Nothing better?
No.
Nothing straight on?
We've looked hard.
yeah, we looked straight on for that, and it's almost impossible to find. That's the best we could do. Commissioner Hendrickson kind of blew it up, but it got pretty grainy because of the picture from the 1870s and 80s.
This one, right here.
So the windows in the historic photo show, looks like four,
Mullions, yeah.
4 lights in the storefront windows. Are you able to do that?
We're adding doors and.
Yeah, I know it's really. In this, well, so what is now a storefront window in the center? Are you able to make that divided light too? So it at least is somewhat like the historic windows?
It appears that the
So you're asking if this one here, we could divide it?
Yeah, I think that's what's showing in this photo.
Well, yeah, but that's the entrance. You're talking about the windows in general, but
I th-
that's actually the entrance currently is where that window is.
we're breaking it up.
Yeah, because in the historic photo, there was a center entrance and there was two
Two storefronts.
storefront windows that were divided.
I think what Suzanne's getting at is the possibility of replicating one of the two side windows that in the original drawing and use that design in the new center window.
Not opposed to it.
Yeah, the big window on either side of the doors, on the large window
In the middle.
in the middle would be divided, maybe into quarters.
Mm-hmm.
And a horizontal light through the, then one, and once again, I think that if you're working with the state and your architects, I mean, we don't want to say that they're wrong because they're not, and you're not wrong by presenting what you have. It's just these are thoughts that we're trying to tie this more directly to the original drawing. And really, I think that particular question of divided light, as far as economics, is going to be it's going to be slightly more expensive to break that window into 4 pieces or 2 pieces, but I think it would be something you want to consider. Is that what you're talking about, Suzanne?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Well, I think that also brings up some problems because the transom above, then you've got to rework that, because the transoms on the original, those follow the mullion, so those are broken into 2, right?
They are.
Yeah.
Because they're divided.
They
So
appear to
whereas
be, yes.
this, so that kind of starts to mess with your entire elevation. Because if you really want to stay true to the original, the transom in the new design would not have a horizontal down the middle, and it would not have 4 different small, right?
It would just be divided in half.
Correct. Yeah, one vertical dividing it in half. But I personally like the way it looks right now.
Yeah, it does. It
The
looks
new design.
the detail is very, very nice the way it is. I mean, it does show good detail, and we've done the symmetry. You have to reverse the symmetry from before. You had a center entry with symmetrical sides, not including the apartment entry. You've just reverse that. I think it looks great.
So, so Anthony's had these same materials, right? Okay,
He also has the architectural drawings as well.
all right. So he has even more detail.
Yes. Well, we have it here, but staff just doesn't have it available on the computer.
Yeah, I really thought he'd have a much harder time with the complete alteration of the pattern of the entrances and the rhythm of that building, that first floor elevation, or the dimension to it. That surprises me that he's cool with it.
Well, he's been involved with it since probably late September as well. You know, the architectural drawings were done long before the purchase was even made, just to make sure
It could work
that
for
from
you.
an economical standpoint, this was going to be able to work.
Yeah. Okay. Some other things, just you mentioned, the cleaning of the brick and everything. I'm sure Anthony will specify this, but the gentlest manner possible, not sandblasting typically. I noticed the scope of work said tuck pointing, which is actually a profile. Repointing is sort of the more generic term. So you would match, typically it's recommended that it's hand removal of the mortar and then match the profile and the mix of existing mortar so that it's not harder than the brick itself.
The document you did recently and handed out has already been given to the contractor and for the person that's going to be doing the brick.
Okay.
Perfect.
Alrighty. Those are just some other notes I made about it.
He was ready with that answer.
Yeah.
Well, we're learning.
Part of it is I know that particularly with a lot of the limestone that was used in our village, the mortar had a lot of lime in it, and it was a soft mortar. It was strong, but it was flexible to some degree. Nothing like the Portland cement mortar that is just, diamond hard stiff, and it would allow flexibility, and it wouldn't chink out pieces of brick and limestone. So Ken's learned his lesson. And we did have some brick lessons, did we not?
Yes, we did. We had a brick training session.
So,
Yeah.
I'm just curious, did your architect, was one of the options to take that center, the large window, the whole thing, and push that in? And so the side lights next to the doors would actually be angled. So the large window would be pushed in. So it'd be sort of like backwards of the original, where the door was in the center. But this, if you did this, you could almost push the middle in, and you're not messing with the doors at all. The doors stay, but the middle part goes in, and then the side lights actually angle that 45 degrees.
yeah, but you got the columns there. You've got the steel pilasters.
Depends
there.
on where the
Cast
cast
iron
columns are right
cast
now.
iron columns.
Remember,
the center is
the cast iron columns are right
inside
here.
now.
Right.
They are right here.
They're right on
Yeah.
the face.
They're right on the face?
Yes.
So that precludes the.
Yes.
That wouldn't work.
See, the cast iron columns are covered right now
Okay.
with the
I
with the new old brick and tile, because from what I understand happened was the tile or the brick in the building was spalling and falling apart. So rather than take it off, they just threw this tile over it to hold it and anchor it
Okay.
in 61.
Gotcha.
The tile was left over from a bathroom at the Cubs Park. It was extra tile.
No.
Making that up, right? Yeah.
Well, one of our thoughts was that maybe it was the same tile in the bathroom at the store. They just had it left over, but
A lot of
it
tile.
isn't. Well,
A lot of
you
tile.
know, they did it. They said, "Well, we can get more of this." And
Well, at
now
any
we-
rate-
and then Anthony since found out that this tile is still accessible, but he decided to allow it to go back to the 1877 look. So, any other questions for the applicants? Did you want to relate the ice cream story to the commission?
I would have to turn that over to the boss to do.
Well,
No.
I'm not really sure what the ice cream story is, but it's been a dream of mine since I was 16. My first job was in an ice cream store, so I've always wanted an ice cream store. We've looked over the years at several locations, but the town I grew up in was very similar to Plainfield back in New York. So this fits in with, lifetime dream. And my grandmother was a huge inspiration for me and loved my grandma to pieces. Her name was Hazel Marie, so it just fit in.
well, that was the story that I got from Ken, so I just
Well, he
wanted.
got the story right. That's good.
He did. He got the story right, I thought it would be great. I mean, so you're going to be scooping ice cream?
No.
Oh,
No,
It's just a
we're gonna
dream,
be, we're
but
going to be
it's-
selling real estate and
I
watching
see.
others
But
scoop ice
maybe,
cream.
kind of like village trustees go to Culver's and
Right,
you-
there you go.
and they give the food out. So a couple times you can come in, and when it's a slow day in selling real estate, you can scoop ice cream, make it chocolate sundae. Okay, seeking a motion.
I move we recommend approval of the certificate of appropriateness for the proposed phased restoration of the building at 24030 West Lockport Street regarding case 1755-0220017.coa/FA.
Is there a second?
I'd like to second that motion.
Are we approving both phases at this time?
That's correct.
We're approving both phases.
Yes.
Yes.
That's the request.
You want to talk about the second phase first?
Well, okay, so the cornice is you matching it to historic photos, or do you have a bit of it, or?
We're matching it to historic photos the best we can. I mean, it's kind of hard to tell from the historic photos, but yes.
Okay,
Yep.
all right.
And using other buildings as well as kind of a reference to figure out what that really is. you know.
Okay. So do your plans have it measured? I mean, so it's figured, somebody counted bricks, figured out how big it was and proportions of the dentils, and so it's that you've taken those kind of pains.
I didn't, the architect did.
But the good part of this photo we do have for the parapet and the cornice is excellent for you. This is a great tool because it does show the projection from the angle.
Projection, but it doesn't show from the front angle.
No, but you can see
Close, yeah.
if a person wanted to, you could almost count the dentals and get an idea what the population of dentals is across there,
Yeah.
even from this photo. And if we could provide a better original photo, I'm willing to bet that you could come real close on scale as far as the size of those dentals.
Yeah, and if anything needs to change, I mean, we're constantly changing things with the architect anyhow. So that's, it's not a big deal.
So you don't think much will change about phase 2, though, right? That you would need, that we can go ahead and do this
Yeah,
COA
Yeah,
for that?
we don't anticipate any more change. Obviously, you see, all this has already been opened up now. There's restoration inside that has to take place to make sure that happens. Because the reason that there's an infill in this is because that's where the
Ceiling got dropped.
where the original space and the plaster and lath ceiling, the original, is in there and in good shape. It's 4.5 feet open inside and 3.5 feet back out.
Wow.
And it's all still in very, very good shape.
That's exciting. So those are wood windows too, right?
are
Replacement
wood
wood
windows as
windows, and the arch, just like it's shown.
That is
Okay.
correct. Yep.
I think we have.
All
As a
right,
matter of
all
fact,
right.
2 of the wood windows from the original interior, before the addition was put on the back, the frames are now available because the demo's been done. And we're gonna have those frames taken out because we can reuse them.
Perfect.
Okay. Okay. I just wanted to clarify. We were doing both phases.
Okay, roll call vote, please.
Commissioner Schmidt,
Yes.
Commissioner Hagan,
Yes.
Commissioner Barvian. Oh, sorry. Commissioner Derrick,
Yes.
threw me off. Commissioner Lucas,
Yes.
who'd I miss? Chairman Bortle,
Yes.
Commissioner Hendrickson, yes.
Mr. Hendrickson.
See, she's trying to keep you on your toes. And throws her pen on the floor. Okay. All right. Next, case number 1734-0906 16.HPC landmark for 23718 West Lockport Street. Public hearing. I'm seeking a motion to continue this public hearing to our March 23rd special meeting.
I would be happy to make that motion. I would like to suggest that in reference to case number 1734-0906 16.HPC/landmark, local landmarking, at 23718 West Lockport Street, that we waive any operation on this proposal this evening and move it to the special meeting that's scheduled for March 23rd.
I'll
Is there a
second that.
Roll call vote, please.
Commissioner Hagan,
Yes.
Commissioner Barvian,
Yes.
Commissioner Schmidt,
Yes.
Commissioner Lucas,
Yes.
Commissioner Derrick,
Yes.
Commissioner Hendrickson,
Yes.
Chairman Bortle.
Yes. The plan here is that the application and nomination will be presented to the Landmarks and District Designation Committee a week from tonight, March 2nd, and copies will then be sent to the remaining commissioners to look over and read so that they will be ready on the 23rd. We will not do this on March the 9th because that is the night for training with Anthony, and we didn't feel that there would be enough time for that. So the landmark will be done for that evening. This is the property at the northeast corner of Lockport Street and Eastern Avenue. Used to be known as the Quality Hill House. And we have recent research has shown that a portion of this house is older than we originally thought. And we found that Bartlett was not the original owner. His house is across the street west of this house. And this house is the original portion, the back portion, 1833, 1834. And the main two-story part of the house, 1862 to 1865. So, any other discussion on anything before we adjourn? I want to thank everybody. I think we did great for downtown Plainfield. And these will go to the village board, I believe, for their first meeting in March, which I believe will be the 6th. So I'm seeking a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
A second?
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Meeting adjourned.